Ever thought about how dusty, old stories could somehow be the blueprint for a digital future? Well, today we're going to dive into exactly that, how forgotten folklore is being brought back to life to build the next generation of really immersive digital worlds. I mean, just imagine for a second. What if the key to the next blockbuster video game, or that mind-blowing VR experience, isn't some new futuristic idea, but it's actually hidden away in a story that maybe your great-grandparents knew by heart? It's a pretty powerful thought, and that's exactly what we're unpacking today. So our journey is going to start in the American West. We're looking specifically at the forgotten folklore of Colorado. And it turns out there is an absolute treasure trove of these stories just sitting there waiting for someone to find them again. And the spark for this whole creative explosion? It's a book by Stephanie Walters called Forgotten Tales of Colorado. People describe it as a treasure trove of these forgotten legends. And honestly, it's the seed for everything else we're about to get into. Now, inside this book, you find these incredible little nuggets, these kernels of history. And we're talking about stories like the mysterious miner of the San Juan Mountains who just vanished, or the super intriguing zigzag ghost of the Rockies. Not to mention all these genuinely eerie tales from actual ghost towns. You see, these aren't just quaint little stories. They are pure raw material for creation. And that is exactly how modern creators are seeing it. Take that story of the miner who disappeared. As one creator, Franco Artesero, said, it's the kind of tale that just begs for reinterpretation. It's a perfect example of why these stories aren't meant to just sit on a page and collect dust. So, okay, this brings us to the really big idea here. How do you actually use history as a blueprint to build something totally new? Well, here's what we mean by a creative blueprint. It's the idea that you can take these kernels of history, the characters, the settings, the plot twists, and use them as the foundational structure, the actual raw material for building brand new worlds. It's all about seeing history not as some finished product, but as the starting point for innovation. And this really highlights a major shift in thinking, right? The old way of looking at history was as this passive archive, something that just kind of fades from memory over time. But this new blueprint model? No way. It sees history as an active catalyst, as raw material that's meant to inspire fresh, new art. It's a complete flip of the script. So why does any of this matter? Well, because using these historical blueprints gives modern digital projects deep roots. It grounds them in real cultural heritage, and that gives them a layer of authenticity that you just can't get from a world that's built completely from scratch. It just feels more real. Because, well, in a way, it is. Okay, so that's the theory. Now let's look at how this all works in the real world with a creative group that's actually putting these ideas into practice right now. This is where a group like the ARTESEROSTEK Creative Factory comes in. You can think of it like a digital workshop, right? It's this collaborative space where artists, writers, and tech wizards all come together to turn those historical blueprints into actual, tangible, immersive experiences. And check out what they're actually building. They're turning these tales into interactive stories where you get to choose the outcome. They're designing entire game quests based on that mysterious miner. They're taking all those rich historical details from the ghost towns to build VR worlds that are genuinely creepy and authentic. They're even making virtual tours to teach people about regional history. It's just incredibly cool and super practical. So, beyond being a really clever, creative method, why does bringing these old stories back to life actually matter? I mean, it's about so much more than just entertainment. It's really about connection. And the secret sauce, really, is finding that delicate balance between historical accuracy and narrative flair. The whole point is to create something that connects with us emotionally, today, while still respecting the cultural roots of the story. It's this beautiful dance between respect and reinvention. And ultimately, what this all means is that by reinterpreting these old stories, we're not letting them just fade away. We are actively preserving our local heritage by giving it a vibrant, relevant new life in the digital world, where it can be discovered all over again. So, the most important point, the one thing to really take away from all this is actually pretty simple, but so powerful. Authenticity is the bridge. It's the thing that connects our past to our future, and it lets these ancient stories speak to brand new generations in a language they totally understand. And that leaves us with one final thought, really. This whole thing, it's not just happening in Colorado. Every town, every region, heck, every family has its own forgotten tales. So the real question is, What stories are buried in your own backyard, just waiting for someone like you to come along and give them a new voice?